What's up everyone, Sunyveil here with the Deck Tech with the newest promo card, Lastlight Judgement. This is a very interesting card that we saw spoiled in the last ECQ and it's live now, so I got to thinking because I think it has a lot of potential and it might be potentially broken. Alright, let's talk about the card. Costs 15 power, one of each faction as far as the influence goes. Lastlight Judgement. Kill everything, each player discards their hand and loses all of their power. Night falls and never ends. Lastlight Judgement costs 3 less for each power that has been decimated this game. So potentially you could play this for 0 if you have decimate. I think it counts both players, but I'm not entirely sure just based on the wording. So if your opponent's decimating, I think they help you get to the Lastlight Judgement. So this could potentially cost 0, just killing everything, resetting everything, and having Nightfall and slowly ping each player to death. Now, you obviously, when you're playing a card like this, you want to break the stalemate, and there are a few ways you can do that. Someone mentioned entomb effects, like if you have a Recogulator that makes 2 Grenadin when it dies, or something along those lines, that could be a way to have something after everything is destroyed. The best way I found, and the way we're going to do it today, is Waystone Gate, and this says it's a relic that says pay 3 to draw a sigil of your choice from your deck. After the third use, sacrifice Waystone Gate. But all we're really interested here is entomb. If you do a turn, play an 8/8 giant. So let's say that you're up to 6 power, you've got all 5 factions, and Lastlight Judgement costs 3 somehow. You've decimated, or decimating has happened 4 times this game. You play Waystone Gate, you play Lastlight Judgement, and all of a sudden you have an 8/8 and your opponent has nothing. So that's the big game plan. We also have Soul Flame Rider for if you draw cards. Since it'll be nighttime, you'll be drawing a lot of cards after the sweep happens. You can draw into Soul Flame Rider, which will cost 0 if you've decimated 3 times, which doesn't seem too likely. This one does say you have decimated, so I'm pretty sure that this counts both players. So that's another way you can kill them after sweeping. And if we're playing a deck that cares about decimating, of course we're going to be playing the emblems, and all of the emblems cost the unit that they make costs 2, so you can decimate it, make the unit, and attack with it. Like hopefully it's an empty board, and get there that way. All right, so how are we going to set this up? Well, I think the card that makes the most sense is Reap. It's just a free decimate, which is 3 power for Lastlight Judgement. It also leads to some of the best Lastlight Judgement hands. I'll go over game scenarios in just a bit. We have Calibrate to help find the Waystone Gate, because I think that is a very important card in this deck in order to make the combo happen. If not, it'll hopefully hit one of these powers, and that's fine. But it'll just make the deck more consistent at finding Waystone Gate. You have a bunch of chance. Here I have 10 chance. I think that you could probably go higher on chance. They help fix your power, like find whatever influence you need for the Lastlight Judgement, and also they decimate in order to make it cost less. So you could definitely go higher on chance, but I want to fit the other cards in the deck. You have 4 Coldedex to help you find Reap, Waystone Gate, or Lastlight Judgement, or after the Judgment happens, you might be looking for a Soul Flame Rider. That'll just hopefully increase the consistency of the deck. You got 4 Volatility. This is an interesting one. It only hits Shenron Speaks and Lastlight Judgement in this deck. Lastlight Judgement only if you haven't decimated 4 times or more. If 3 or fewer decimates have happened in this game, it'll hit Lastlight Judgement. But I think that's good enough because you absolutely need to hit it. It looks through a ton of cards to try to find it, so I think we're going to have that. And Cast into Shadow and Shenron Speaks, removal spells that also have Decimate that you can use in order to get closer to your Lastlight Judgement. And that's the deck. I mean, the game, I think the way the games are going to play out is if your opponent is playing some sort of conventional game, they'll play some units. You'll try to keep yourself alive with the removal, and then maybe you hit like 8 power or something. You play Waystone Gate, you decimate 2 chance, you decimate an emblem, and sorry, that's 3 decimates. You need 1 more. Like you have a Reap in your hand, you decimate that. Play Lastlight Judgement for 3, so you had that turn uses up 8 power in total, and then you have an 8/8, and your opponent has nothing. So what you are really weak to is Aegis and opposing negates. I think that opposing negates is the scariest thing, and Aegis is the second scariest thing for you to deal with. You have some targeted removal, so you can use those to try to pop the Aegis on opposing units before playing Lastlight Judgement. There's also options such as Storm Spiral, which does 2 to everything, so that pops all the Aegises, which helps clear the way for the Lastlight Judgement. And there's also a fire card that does 1 to deal damage. What is this fire card? Here we go, Ruinous Burst. This is also an option. It is cheap and it can remove Aegises, but I just don't feel like it removes units that often, so it didn't quite make the cut. Another card that I had in an earlier version of this deck, as in like 5 minutes ago, is Sabotage, because you are so afraid of negates. You can sabotage a negate in order to clear the way for Lastlight Judgement. But if you're playing against opponents that don't have a negate, I just don't think that Sabotage does very much to help keep you alive. So I don't think it's necessary, although if negate just becomes a big part of the metagame with like Backlash, Unseal, Swift Refusal, what have you, then yeah, it's probably worth having Sabotage in here. What other cards are there that might be useful in this deck? Other chance, of course. Having more chance helps you find your power drops in order to play Lastlight Judgement, and also gives you options to invoke, it gives you opportunities to decimate, and also you can also win with the invoke cards that you get off it. Sorry, that's a lot of alsos there. There's also like Entomb effects. Where is it? There's this relic. Here we go. Bottled Storm that says Entomb. If it's your turn, draw 3 cards. It doesn't really do anything unless you have a Lastlight Infusion, and even so, drawing 3 cards might not really amount to a whole ton. Like, sure, you get closer to finding your Soul Flame Riders or another Lastlight Judgement, but compared to having an 8/8 when neither player has anything and they're taking damage, I think that drawing 3 cards might not matter that much, and it's a dead card. It doesn't help you get your combo, so it didn't make the cut. Geez, Slumbering Stone pre-nerf would actually be fantastic for this, because you'd get a 2/2 in the air that would start attacking down. What's the other card? There's no bait, but there is like Recalculator, which is a card that makes 2 Grenadins. I don't think that 2 Grenadin is enough, and Recalculator is just kind of a mediocre card. So those were the considerations I had for this deck. It's possible that this deck wants to have one of the combo pieces in the market and use one of those spells in order to go get it. But I think that given the current state of markets, where you can you can only get 4 copies of the card that searches the card from your market in any given deck, I think that it's better to just have all these cards in the main deck and use Volatility and cull the deck to help find the Lastlight Judgement, and Calibrate to help you find the Waystone Gate. Unfortunately, you can't play this deck with 4 copies of Lastlight Judgement until Friday, for when, if you win each day that it's out, you'll get your 4th copy on Fridays. But I'm really looking forward to try it out. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, at least the first few times. As always, the deck list is posted in the Discord. If you're not already a part of the Discord, be sure to join it. The last 2 ECQs, about a third of the top 64 competitors have been from the Discord, whether that's because they're just there for one reason, whether that's there because they're looking for high-level discussion of Eternal, or if they just went in to find a deck list at one point, I'm not sure, but it's a great place to be. Join the Discord. There'll be a link in the description. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter and Twitch, twitch.tv/Sunyveil and twitter.com/Sunyveil for all your Eternal viewing needs, content creation needs. And yeah, be sure to check out FEcast, the podcast that I do on a weekly basis. I'll include a link to that in the description as well. Good luck for those of you trying to build this deck. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, I'll see you later. Have a good one.